Great, yeah, so just get everything you need and find a spot. Great. So if anyone wants to sit nearer the front, there's some spaces free. People never do. But I should start bribing you with sweets and stuff. Okay, yeah, great. So warm welcome from me. My name's Kusalasara. You've probably met most of you before. And yes, tonight, well, there's those of you here in the shrine room. We've also got the session online, so very warm welcome to those of you who are watching online. And yes, tonight we are closing the series that we've been exploring or touching on to some of the big ideas and symbols of Mahayana Buddhism. So this second wave of post-Buddha Buddhism, if that kind of works, where Buddhism, I guess after the death of the founder of a religion, there's a sort of choice whether you just kind of hunker down and keep things going and hope it's going to be okay, or whether there's a kind of, what's the word, a more progressive attitude that takes in current ideas, takes in how people express themselves, and revives the tradition. So inevitably, any tradition of any kind will sort of wear out or start sort of what's the word, ossifying, get a bit stagnant, and what's needed then are not new ideas but revitalizing of what the original inspiration is, and this is what the Mahayana did to a huge degree, and it's an astonishingly rich and still alive aspect of Buddhist culture, Buddhist tradition, Buddhist practice. So yeah, that's what I'll say a little bit more about the aspects of the Mahayana shortly, but we're going to salute the shrine. Actually, maybe, yeah, we'll just salute the shrine and I'll say more in a second. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Dhammaya.
Namo Dhammaya.
Namo Sanghaya.
Namo Sanghaya.
Namo Namah.
Namo Namah.
Om.
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 Yeah, so maybe I'll just recap the series so far. So we'll do some meditation shortly, but I'm going to sort of we'll find our way into it. So the ideas that we've been looking at, yeah, don't worry if you haven't been coming along. Each session stands alone. Yeah, what was this invigoration that was discovered? Discovered, I think, not invented by the Mahayana Buddhists, and there was an imaginative explosion. So great literary and artistic and devotional flourishing. Explosion is a good word due to just the prolificness of it. And there are texts, there are paintings, there's architecture, and many Buddhist figures that came out of meditation came into view, let's say, with the Mahayana, and we've been exploring that. With that is an explosion in the devotional side of Buddhism. So we looked at ritual as well. Stirmanis was talking about the quality of looking up that became very emphasized in Mahayana, and that being a human need really to look up, and the expression of that comes in mantra, comes in puja, and many other practices, devotional practices. And then we've also explored the paradoxes of time and space and eternity, I think I sort of run. Stirmanis really did a really great job of that exploration, and we'll just you can watch that. It's on YouTube. I won't try and summarise it, but all of these things just to say that sort of demonstrate the richness of what we're really just touching the surface in this series. And also we've been, each week we've had a different Buddha figure on the shrine. So today we've got Manjushri, and he is a bodhisattva. We'll come back to him at the end, but I'll just say a little bit about him. So he's wielding a sword, and he's a very graceful figure. He's a princely figure. If you in the tea break you want to come and have a look, you'll see he's wearing beautiful cloth, beautiful jewellery. He's a young man, and he's like a prince. He's wielding a sword. His name means Manjushri means gently auspicious. So Manju is sort of gently or softly, which again we're often looking at contradictions in these figures, not certainties. So he's gently auspicious, and yet he's wielding a sword. So this sword, well, doesn't anyone know what the sword might represent? Why would a Buddhist figure be wielding a sword? Over there in the corner.
I don't know if this is actually true, but someone told me that he slays demons with it.
Ah, yeah, he might do. Yeah, he might do. So that's one way. Yeah.
They think cutting through delusion.
Yeah. Which delusion might come in the form of demons for sure. But yeah, so it's a sword of truth. It's got this kind of razor sharp ability to cut through confusion, unclarity, and delusion. And yes, his other name, a very, very similar, almost identical figure, is Manjughosha, which means softly spoken. And he, so this combination of someone whose voice is gentle and beautiful, mellifluous even, and yet he's got this clarity, and he's associated with beauty, and well, in fact, he's associated with the arts and the sciences. So both beauty and clarity. If you think of both those things, and those are really our explorations tonight: beauty and clarity, and I'm going to weave us through various Buddhist images to deepen our understanding of that. So truth and beauty often come together. We often talk about them being aspects of the same thing. So we'll see that a bit more deeply this evening. So we're going to meditate shortly, but actually what I thought we could do first of all, do I want to? to get us in the mood to meditate, I'd just like you to have a moment and just think today about any even small aspect of beauty in your experience. You know? And then we'll have a moment, and then I'll just get you into little groups and we can share that with each other. Okay. So you might just run through your day from when you woke up to now. Okay, so let's get into threes and just share your moment of beauty from the day. So hopefully those of you watching at home can just have a think yourself. Okay, just a few more seconds. sorry if you didn't get to say your bit. Yeah, let's just share some of those more broadly with one another. So, well, was there anything in common, let's say, with your moments of beauty in your group? Anything in common?
Sky was grey, but not that terrible grey. So that is common, you know.
You all came to the same
It was
conclusion.
more optimistic side still.
Yeah.
You know, not that grey that kills you, you know.
Great, thank you. Anything else? Anyone else notice anything in common about your moments of beauty?
I found that my group, our moments are all like visual things. They weren't like sound or.
Oh yeah.
They were visual things, and one like more of an experience as well. But
Yeah.
mainly visual.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good observation. Let's hear what some of the moments of beauty were. Actually, let's just be more specific. Anyone want to share theirs?
Walking meditation.
Where's that? Today?
Walking meditation.
Yeah. What was beautiful about it?
But personally, lately I've been slowing down my mind a bit more, so I'm a bit more aware of what's around me, and so I have more consciousness of awareness of what's around, and I mean, obviously some people don't. I think I'm annoying some people that I go slower than the normal Londoners, but that's fine.
You could deal with that.
That's fine, I can deal with it.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so that's really nice, isn't it? Actually, we can bring beauty to our experience as well, rather than just receiving it. So you're talking about slowing down, and even and in fact, awareness, deepening our awareness, and clarifying our mind is a beautiful experience in and of itself. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? Yeah.
Well, just up in my group, it's like I found it when you ride in, like people complain about certain weathers, but like when there's a crispness, like say you get to a nice flow on your bike on in the lanes, and you if you look around, like you can find gems, interesting architecture and sort of plant life and so on. There you go. And so yeah, definitely a good way to go and just find these nice gems.
Yeah, so you've been finding gems in just like the urban environment.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, great, thank you. Yeah. Anyone else? See.
Mine was Walthamstow Wetland Centre,
Aha.
which I ran to, and it was a combination of sort of going on this pilgrimage almost, and then having the reward of the openness and the nature at the end. And it keeps coming back to me, and bringing that sort of sweetness again.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so that's also a really nice point. Not just the experience, but to let it inform your state of mind. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? They don't need to be. You don't need to have gone to Costa Rica or whatever. It's just like little things, simple things. Yeah, over there. Yeah.
I really like it when it rains.
Ah.
Because, I mean, a lot of people really don't like it. They're always complaining, but then when I go outside, everything's really shiny and fresh.
Yeah.
And everything's, especially when the floor, the ground reflects everything else.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I agree. It can, the trees and everything just looks sort of luminous, doesn't it? Yeah. Great. Thank you. Yeah, Brian.
So if I meditate enough, then everything becomes beautiful. It's just bring your consciousness and you're writing ink onto paper, and just the way the ink hits the paper, and the colour of the paper and the ink, and then if I meditate enough, everything it'll be like the colours of my muesli, the bowl, the colour of skin, light hitting, just like everything you look at, everything you hear, in certain states of mind can be beautiful.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, mine was a comparison. So I did yoga this morning, and the yoga teacher she was pregnant and still very calm and I just thought that was quite beautiful. That she was so going through this transformation, but being able to do her work at the same time and giving a lot to other people.
Yeah, thank you for that one, because I was thinking, because my moment of beauty was just seeing a friend who just looked particularly well. Just seeing people. People can just really be an aesthetic experience, can't they? And that's really lovely. Thank you. Yeah. So partly I just want to say I think it's worth recollecting, even the simple things, simple moments of beauty, just bringing them to mind later in the day, just sort of allow yourself to savour them, and it can be a way into meditation. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to do the mindfulness of breathing, and I just invite you to you can bring the moment of beauty that you've just shared with other people. You could start with that maybe, or there might be some just sort of allow other beautiful experiences. And that it was interesting noticing that we mostly bring visual things, so maybe you can just think, oh, was there a beautiful sound that I heard today? I mean, yesterday I was on a walk in the evening, and the blackbirds and the thrushes they just sounded like such beautiful music, and they do that every evening. So there might be sounds, other things that you can just bring in. So we'll just do that to create a sort of atmosphere in our minds, and then in which we start to pay attention to the breath. Okay? So I'll lead us a little bit in a body awareness so that we just becoming a bit more present here. If you're struggling to think of moments of beauty, then you can just look at the shrine. There it is. Manjushu, the Buddha. So as you sit, you're just letting your attention rest into your seat. This contact of your bum on the cushion. Relaxing down through the seat into the ground. The weight of your body resting. It doesn't need any effort to do that. You could let your shoulders soften. Easing tensions as you notice them, softening your face, hands, the belly. the quality of your spine falling into its natural curves. Perhaps like a plant moving towards the light. This quality of softness also in the heart, your emotions and your actual heart center. And letting this quality of beauty surround us, support us. Images, words, sounds. People. We start to rest the attention on the breath. The mindfulness of breathing. So let's head out and have some tea. We'll keep this room silent, so if you want to stay in here, you're welcome to.
still a bit chilly.
I'll get someone clever to sort
Yeah.
it out.
Not me.
I just did move it from 20 to 23. Okay, we'll see. We did get an email about the heating, but I didn't read it. Okay, good. Yeah, so where am I going to start? Yeah, I thought I'd tell you about some Buddhist places that I've been to, and take it from there. So somehow I was not wise enough, but sort of fell it. Lucky enough when I was younger to, in my gap year, go to Indonesia and sort of stumbled upon, I don't know if anyone's been there, to on Java there's this wonderful Buddhist, it's now a monument, it's not run by Buddhists, monument called Borobudur, and the miracle is that I managed to haul myself out of bed age 20 and probably had quite a late night to go and visit the monument at dawn, and my friend couldn't quite bring herself to get out of bed, but I managed to do it. And has anyone else been there to Borobudur? No. So it was built when Java was a mainly Buddhist country, and it's huge. I think it's one of the biggest Buddhist monuments in the world. It's huge, and it's kind of built of these ascending kind of sort of, I don't know, steps like that. Yeah. So, but each to get to the top, you just walk around these squares, and it's made of stone, and along the sides are carved stories about sort of moral stories about the perils of life. The perils of samsara, so life driven by craving, and stories of karma, weighty karma, positive karma, negative karma, so lots and lots of detail carved in stone. So you walk around these, and also start in the reliefs, there are more Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and they start appearing. There are sort of dragons. The drainage is kind of dragon mouths and water comes out of them. What else is there? Yes, lots of niches. It's very, very intricate. It's extraordinary. So, and if you look at it from above, it's a square, and there are a number of concentric squares, and then as you get higher, there are three or so concentric circles. So you can imagine getting there at dawn, just as the sun's coming up, and surrounding it is jungle. It's wonderful. This pinky sky, I really remember that. And as you get near the top, they've also built these huge stupas. So stupas are, these are the symbol of the stupa. These contain the ashes of order members, but they're the same symbolism of a stupa. The ones at Borobudur, they look like kind of bells. So these huge stone bell shapes that you walk in between. And some of the stupas don't have tops, and there are Buddhas sat inside of them. And then there are also these huge stone Buddhas, and apparently there's more than 500 Buddha statues. So you're walking along and you're taking in all this imagery and feeling, it's a very emotional place to be. And as you get closer and closer to the top, you suddenly, you find yourself among these monumental Buddhas. And you're sort of dwarfed by it, and you're sort of walking among them. And not only that, not only are you among the Buddhas, but you're looking out, and in every direction it's far-reaching. You can see for miles and miles and miles. And from what I remember, I might be wrong, it was mainly jungle and mountains in the distance. I don't remember, maybe some villages. I don't remember anything particularly jarring. Right at the centre there's a big magnificent stupa. So one goes, if you want to get to the top, you can't just nip to the top, you have to go around all of these concentric squares and circles. You really have to take a journey. But when you get to the top, it's like the whole journey's there with you, because you can see in every direction. And so I was thinking about this, and I'd love to go back now that I know more about Buddhism. Anyway, I doubt I will actually. There's a lot to do in life. It's going back to Indonesia. Anyway, but it would be wonderful. But more recently, I have been to Bodh Gaya, which is the town where the Mahabodhi temple is, which is also a great and magnificent Buddhist monument, and that's much more active. It is a place of pilgrimage. Pilgrims do go to Borobudur, but this is much more a sort of live place of pilgrimage. So, and in some ways it's similar. The construction involves these squares, and at the centre is this huge kind of, I don't really know what the shape of it is called. It's just kind of like this, this huge tower, and it's quite a thing. So Bodh Gaya doesn't have that much else. When you go to Bodh Gaya, you're there to go to the Mahabodhi temple, and it takes quite a while to get inside. It's not just like nipping to your local church or something. You don't just sort of pick your way up the path and open the door and there you are. You have to go through quite a lot of security. There were some bombs, I think, some years ago, and depending on who's visiting, you might have to sort of squeeze your way through a throng of monks or a throng of other pilgrims. It's a crowded place, so even getting through security takes quite a long time, and then you arrive in some. I mean, to be honest, I never got my bearings properly at Bodh Gaya. But you sort of arrive, and you, instead of walking up, you end up walking down. So these concentric squares, levels take you down, and you can stop and meditate in different places. And it's very, very busy, but it's wonderful because you can't take your phone there. So everybody, I mean, when was the last time you were at a place where there's thousands and thousands of people and they don't have their phone? I mean, it's even that's like, sadly, quite revelatory. But yeah, it's very busy. So people from all over the world come to practice, and they're doing their different kinds of practice. Not only that, the local dogs are there, so they're running around trying to get some food, maybe having a fight, maybe just running around and howling a bit. So it's not peaceful. And you might stumble upon like a whole congregation of Tibetan monks, or I remember coming around the corner, and there was a huge tanker, so this painted image of white Tara, and different delegations of Buddhists, when they come, they might book spaces there, so it will change every time you go there. The book spaces and put the images relevant to their tradition up Bodh Gaya. So you might find this huge image of white Tara. Overhead, the birds are screeching. There's these naughty little monk boys who very, very tunelessly come around chanting Om Mani Padme Hum for money. And that's really quite unpleasant. I just think, could you just listen? Anyway, they don't. So, like, you sort of have to deal with all these and amazingly, what's the word? Just amazingly tough pilgrims of it. Ancient people from, I don't know, China, Burma, Bhutan, just there doing their prostrations, and so you have to not stand on the prostrating people, and there might be someone with a megaphone chanting mantra, apparently at one point there were 15,000, a delegation of 15,000 Tibetans there. I think that would have dominated quite a lot, but Buddhists from other countries, they use megaphones a lot more than we do at the London Buddhist Centre. So there'll be megaphones of chanting, and then you might, and some of it's very, very beautiful. So you're in this throng, and you're like, I think it's down here. I want to get right at the centre. There's the temple, and then there's also the Bodhi tree, which is the grandson or daughter of the Bodhi tree which the Buddha sat under. So that was usually my aim. But you can't be too. Well, you just can't be in a hurry, because it's just the wrong vibe, yeah, and it's not possible. And if you were in I mean, sometimes I probably was in a bit of a hurry, and it just became unpleasant, because then it's like you're trying to manoeuvre unnaturally through something that's got its own kind of organic and kind of weird and wonderful and devotional coherence. So within all the incoherence, there's this coherence of devotion of everybody there. There are hardly any tourists, hardly any Westerners, everybody there being Buddhist and a pilgrim. So the atmosphere is quite extraordinary. But noticeable for both these places that it certainly wasn't about a kind of efficient ascent to the top, or an efficient journey to the centre of the place, and I think there's a lesson in that about how to practice, and about how when we talk about practice, even that becomes a bit utilitarian, a bit like practical, and that there is practical nature to aspect to it. But what I found was going on is that I had to make the journey part of the experience, and I had to just accept every single part of the experience, because the naughty little monks, for a while I was just like, they're driving me nuts. They're very, very out of tune, and very, very loud, and slightly aggressive. But I the whole thing had to be part of my practice. I couldn't shove any of it away. Does that make sense? So, and so then there's a lesson about integration, and I think that both those structures kind of point to the mind and our experience needing to be integrated as we move towards our goal. And in a way, that there are different kinds of metaphors. So one metaphor is a path. And when you think about a path, it could be a windy path, or it could be a straight path. But I think the path is a wonderful metaphor. But it sort of describes a series of stages through time. And the Buddha used the metaphor of the path. He said, like, his enlightenment, he rediscovered a path to an ancient city. And I'm sort of using the image of architecture today to make my points, and the city becomes quite an interesting facet of the stories of Mahayana Buddhism. So these places, Borobudur and the Mahabodhi Temple, they're kind of like sacred palaces in a certain kind of way. They're not utilitarian buildings, and they're not places of leisure. They're places of beauty, and they're places of with a centre. So certainly a goal, but the goal isn't at the end of a straight path or even a windy path. The goal, let's say, the central stupa or the central temple, is part of the whole thing. So the metaphor of the path kind of disappears, and it's much more about the space that you're in. And in that space, everything's going on all at once. Yeah. So we're out of the metaphor of time. This happened and then that happened. We're in the metaphor of space. Everything's happening at the edge of the building. There's probably, I don't know, people trying to sell things, beggars just outside the door. Everything's there, and there's definitely a centre. And in a way, I think it's useful just to think about these metaphors, time and space, because if we stick to one, our thinking about our spiritual life sort of narrows. So, and the point really is that it's not an efficient way of moving about a place. There is no direct. You can't get the cable car to the top. You can't find. There's no secret tunnel that I was shown anyway. And actually, our teacher Bhante Sangharachita, he wrote a poem, which I didn't have time to get it, but it describes very well like how we can sometimes think about our spiritual practice of like, other people seem to say that it takes a long time, but probably what I'll manage to do is just like do it right, and I'll get there quite quickly. I'm not gonna get distracted. I'll show them. And he talks about that some like books you might read just say that enlightenment, you just follow the arrows. There's some hotels on the way, you have a nice rest, and then you get there. The path is really clear, everything's signposted, and you get there. And it's quite wry and funny, the poem. And then the second part of the poem, he talks much more about, I think the words are inly wise. Those who are inly wise recognise that it's really not like that, and you actually have to what's the words he uses, like really look into the darkness, look into the unknown, that it's not all laid out for you. So I think the buildings, Bodh Gaya and the Mahabodhi Temple, are helping move us into the unknown, and they're not offering us a clear, glib, efficient way to do it, because that doesn't do the job. So, sorry, I've got too many ideas. I'll just give me a moment. I'll order them. Trying to understand what I wrote as well. So we've been talking. We've been talking about the figure of the Bodhisattva. So Manjushri is a Bodhisattva. Over the last few weeks, we had the Buddha, Vairochana. Who else did we have? We had Avalokiteshvara. We've had Tara, and we had one other, did we? Yeah. Anyway, so we've been having Bodhisattva figures on our shrine. And this is one of the great Mahayana ideas, is the figure of the Bodhisattva, so the being of enlightenment who practices not merely for themselves, but for all beings. And Bodhisattva quality, the Bodhisattva, you could think about a Bodhisattva as being the active state of Buddhahood. So Buddhahood is perhaps, and Stillman has talked about this, is a figure who represents the eternal qualities of enlightenment that are always there and always possible, because they're always possible. And the Bodhisattva is either a being, and I say being not to be foggy or something, but because or partly because they're so sort of sublimely embodied, beautiful, that human or people a person doesn't seem to be quite the right word for Manjushri, for example. But a bodhisattva is somebody who's either moving towards enlightenment, so someone whose aspirations are enlightened, and their aspirations towards enlightenment include this altruistic dimension of practicing for everybody, because what's the meaning of being perfectly happily enlightened on your own when everybody else is in deep trouble, suffering, and the world, it's obvious enough that the world is and always has been and is very likely to continue to be in deep trouble, a lot of pain. So the bodhisattva moves towards this state of wisdom with this intention, and upon realizing wisdom, upon awakening, the reflex is to respond from the point of wisdom. So it's the active part as well. So this moving towards and acting from. Does that make sense? So the bodhisattva is always orientated around action. What does a bodhisattva do to alleviate suffering? How does it bring enlightened quality? How does a bodhisattva bring enlightened qualities to the world around them? So very, very, like the state of wisdom will have an action in the world always. So, for instance, different Buddhas will have sort of bodhisattva aspects or bodhisattva figure associations. The danger is that if before we're awakened, is that this aspiration to act for the good of all beings, we wear ourselves out. We sort of start to think. Our teacher sort of said the danger is that we just become really, really tired social workers. And my mum's a social worker, and social work is extremely helpful for our society. But the bodhisattva can't just wear ourselves out by doing good deeds. Does that make sense? So the danger is that we just in a way diminish ourselves by doing good deeds, because we're not allowing ourselves to grow. We get sort of worn out. We lose a sense of vision, perhaps, and the greatness of enlightenment gets forgotten, and we're just. I mean, it's not really my tendency sometimes. Sort of, could do with a bit more. Of that impulse in my own life, but what am I trying to say? Well, actually, this is it. In order to the qualities of bodhisattva will include a huge amount of sympathy with other beings, but have to bring the quality of wisdom to that experience. Empathy is all very well and good, but if we get lost in suffering, in seeing other people suffering, and with no perspective whatsoever, then the then there's no point. Well, you're not bringing anything to the situation. Do you see what I mean? So if everyone's overwhelmed and you go, God, yeah, I can really see why you're overwhelmed. Actually, yeah, I'm now overwhelmed too. That's no help. So Bodhisattva has to bring a wisdom perspective to the experience. Otherwise, it is just sort of staying on one level. So how does this relate to what I'm talking about? These images of buildings and of monuments. Well, the quality that's needed that might be a bit of a surprise if you thinking about bodhisattvas. I mean, actually, let's see what are some of the qualities that you might think of, that would be good if a bodhisattva had, like or a Buddha. What are some great sort of enlightened qualities? Anybody? Forgiveness. Oh yeah. Say more about that.
I think most of us have forgiveness to a certain degree.
Yeah.
I always imagine sort of a very awakened or enlightened individual can forgive without any. There's nothing that they wouldn't be able to forgive.
Yeah.
It might always be sensible to forgive in a certain, but they have the capacity to forgive anything if it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, that's lovely. Forgiveness is such a lovely quality. Yeah, and it means that there's no residue of blame, which means no residue of hatred actually in the heart. Yeah, great. Anything else? Just simple things. What would you like bodhisattvas to demonstrate? Good communicator.
Knowing what someone needs to hear.
Ah, yeah, lovely. Yeah, so good communicator, and that means that knowing what someone else needs to hear means being perceptive and being able to take other people in as well, doesn't it? Yeah, lovely. Yeah, great.
I was thinking about a depth of understanding, so being able to see the world with nuance and not just kind of one perspective.
Yeah, so not sort of going around with a set of opinions that are sort of, lovely. Yeah, depth of understanding. And yeah, that's a good point. I wonder if I can say, I'm sure about a bit more of that. I think that's right, and I think it probably goes with forgiveness. I think forgiveness isn't possible without depth of understanding, a deep understanding of like what the causes and conditions of our experience are. So even if people are doing very, very destructive things, there's an understanding about how that comes about, and also how that could stop. Yeah. And yeah.
I was going to say, like someone who has like a wellspring of energy, like someone who's like constantly propelling forward.
Yeah. And why do you think that's an enlightened quality, a bodhisattva quality?
Someone like physically and mentally, like not getting stuck in the past. Someone who's just constantly, has the energy to deal with things that are happening. Respond in a good way.
Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, not getting stuck in the past. That sort of makes me think I would probably go through life just kind of leaving bits of ourselves unresolved in different situations, or sort of snagging on things. And a bodhisattva will be able to sort of clearly move through life without with being able to resolve things and freeing up energy. Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Anything else? Yeah, Andrew.
Like power, I guess, but in a good way.
Yeah, say more about that.
Like, I feel like if you're just really like good and like nice all the time, like, and you should be, but if you can't like do anything, you're just kind of sitting there being nice to people, but you're not actually like making the change in the world.
So you think say more about what that power's like, or strength maybe.
I don't know, just like the ability to like actually like do stuff and influence people and influence stuff in the world. Like, I don't know, politically, like communication wise, like people listening to you. Having like even like money, like being able to like which isn't like not like to buy like stuff yourself, but like to put towards like stuff, like good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's not one of the usual attributes of a bodhisattva that they're loaded, but I think there's a sensible point in there as well. And the little anecdote that brings to mind is this is roughly the story, I can't quite remember, but our teacher, I think it was throwing a penny into a well somewhere that you could make a wish. It was something like that, and so he did that. Someone maybe gave him the penny, and someone said, "Oh, what did you wish for? Did you wish for enlightenment for all beings?" And he said, "No, enlightenment's guaranteed if people practice. I wished for money, so because we need to build our Buddhist movement." So, and it was something. Was that roughly it, Stiramanas, the story? Yeah. And it wasn't that he wanted to personally be rich, but you're pointing to having the means to, move about in the world that we live in, on the terms of the world that we live in. Yeah. Anything else? There's some. Yeah, great.
Yeah, so they don't let their egos take over too much, even if they know themselves that their ego can want to take over. Like maybe avoids like sort of ruminating or thinking like they're trying to control through their mind what others may or may not do, or like because of what you may or may not have done, and trying to think, oh, you've got to be perfect, and because sometimes we can have like negative self-talk, and we can sometimes be at risk of some lashing out and not necessarily seeing another's perspective very well, especially if we go down the journey of trying to be enlightened. Then I guess maybe what we have to be aware of as well is that we're on different journeys, and so to keep that awareness open and alive.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, exactly. And there's a lovely quality that's attributed to the Buddha called nisprapancha, which means not ruminating, so that the mind is, like you said, open and alive, like free, just to take things in as they arise. Yeah. And any other simple ones? Yeah.
I was thinking maybe, for example, it can be an inspiration for people. For example, in one of the ways it can do that is, for example, being free of attachments, from cravings of material things, and even just that is enough for people to notice that in the Bodhisattva, and take inspiration for and think, oh, if he can be free of all these attachments, maybe it's I can do that as well.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, so it does actually just affect people positively. The more awakened qualities, like being free of attachments. Yeah, and encourage us. It encourages us, doesn't it? Yeah, thank you. Okay. Any more? There's some quite base, sort of simple ones that we haven't got to. Yeah.
A vision of transformation for people. So if you're a bodhisattva, if you are, I don't know, but they've got to see beyond the present and see beyond the superficial and the obvious, and what is the potential transformation for people.
Yeah. I think that's really good, and I think you've put it better than what I was trying to say about coming into a situation, a difficult situation. One needs to be able to bring something extra that isn't already there, and the superficial and the obvious won't help anybody. Yeah. Okay. If I was to say there's two main qualities of enlightenment, would anyone know what they would be? Sort of sometimes described as the two wings of enlightenment.
Selfless?
What did you say?
Selfless.
Selfless? Well, that would come into it. I think these are two aspects of selflessness. Compassion, yeah, great. And wisdom, yeah, thank you. Yeah, so all of these are sort of facets of wisdom and compassion. And in a way then, none of them are separate, but we need to look at them as facets, almost like gem or something with many sides, in order to really see the particular qualities of wisdom and compassion. But then I really like what the things that you've all brought that fill that out much more subtly. So yes, compassion is the heart that responds to other people, and wisdom is the ability to help, the clarity of mind to see further than the current situation. And wisdom is that's probably what I'm going to move towards talking about. And there's one aspect of, one way of describing wisdom. It's probably slightly different to how we might think of wisdom. And it helps us to move away from mere knowledge. So, one way of thinking about wisdom is that someone might know a lot, or they've lived a long time and seen a lot of things. And that can help broaden our mind. But wisdom, it is this depth of understanding that sees more profoundly the nature of things. It doesn't necessarily mean the accumulation of knowledge, although knowledge is a bit like money, can be helpful. There's lots of words for wisdom in Sanskrit and Pali, and one of them is vidya. Vidya. So you might have met an order member with the name Vidya in, maybe. There's lots of them. Vidya. And the aspect of wisdom that vidya contains within its etymology is it has got, and I talked at the beginning about beauty, it's got the beauty with the truth, so it's an aesthetic wisdom. So vidya is known as is known to have this kind of aesthetic and slightly mystical quality. So vidya points to the beauty of the depth of understanding, see how we're coming to truth and beauty. And aesthetic appreciation, our teacher talks about this as being like one of the qualities of a bodhisattva. So not only can they love people, not only can they see what people need and know how to communicate, not only do they, what else did we have? Have a forgiving heart, and not only are they moved to act in the world, but they are able just to dwell in this state of enjoyment and beauty, which sort of speaks to a sense of also spontaneity. So tied up with this kind of quality of aesthetic appreciation, is maybe like the images would just be like that we might be more familiar would be. Just a sage kind of just gazing at the mountaintop or off the mountaintop or something, just not needing to prove themselves at all. So not needing to show that they're a hard worker. Why would you need to prove that? Not needing to look busy. Sometimes I think that I sort of think so. At the end of a retreat, we often have a clear up period, and I'll go and get my broom and and then towards the end of the hour there are less and less jobs, and I just think, okay, I'm just going to look busy so that no one thinks I'm lazy. So a bodhisattva doesn't need to look busy. They could just stand and contemplate the cherry tree in the garden, and then if another job's needed to do that, they'll happily move from one to the other. So that the Bodhisattva is full of paradoxes. So we talked about beauty and the sword, this gentleness and the sword with Manjushri. And another sort of, transcending quality that a Bodhisattva will have is, one's moving towards enlightenment for all beings, which is a lot of work, and that work will be done. But it integrates as well this ability to appreciate beauty in the world and move through the world in a state of enjoyment and in a state of pleasure and even a state of play. So there's a lovely Buddhist word called lila, playfulness. So it's often it's described that the Bodhisattva has this spontaneous, almost playful. I think one translation for the quality is a sort of sporting art. The sporting nature of the Bodhisattva. So Sports as in sort of fun, I think, not necessarily competitive. Yes, I was listening recently to an audiobook about William Blake, and it was describing what neuroscience is starting to know about the brain and visionary experiences and mystical experiences. And it's saying, and I'm sorry, I hardly know anything about it, but it's saying that what happens as from childhood is we start to get more and more efficient routes in our brain to build up a common sense view of the world. Yeah, so probably you know more about this than I do, many of you, and that's really helpful. But what happens is that we forget to as we get older, the sense of wonder that comes from not knowing things and seeing things afresh and not quite understanding. So when we understand, we put things together in a way that makes us feel like, oh yeah, I get it. Piece of the puzzle put in place. Now I get it. And it makes us forget to stay open to the awe and mystery and wonder of the world. So do you see how the buildings of the Mahabodhi temple and Borobudur are trying to help us to move away from efficient getting to places, get to the tube, I know how to hack this underground station, I go down this way, these people are in my way, get to the office on time, done it, that kind of thing. I remember my friend saying it, like we used to live in a Buddhist community together, and she would always wake up late, and then every morning she would see everybody as an obstacle in her way of her trying to get to work. And I think we all know what that feels like, yeah? So a bodhisattva hasn't got that utilitarian attitude to anything. They'll have the qualities of being able to do things efficiently when needed, but that ideally at the point of enlightenment of Manjushri, that what was I going to say? So that quality of efficiency is infused by grace, and it's not separate from the aesthetic appreciation. So this is the coming together of being able to work, being able to help things, and help people to see what's needed to be done, to help at the Buddhist Center, to help run a retreat, but that's infused with the flavour of Leela and of Vidya, like a deep aesthetic appreciation of the world, and not when it's not necessary to not be technocratic about how we run our lives, and not to be always efficient, but to allow wonder, not only to see wonder, but to let it right in, even though it might be inconvenient sometimes. It's more important than more efficiency. There's a beautiful painting in India. There's some painted caves in Maharashtra called Ajanta, and it's one of the first paintings that I think of a bodhisattva, the Bodhisattva Padmapani, I think. Anyway, it's sublime, and it's described as a figure just wavering on the threshold of enlightenment, and that wavering is the state of spontaneity that a bodhisattva has. It's like, I could easily just sit in a state of enlightened qualities, or if it's needed, with the same grace, I will respond to that person or these people or this situation. And it describes more helpfully than words can do, in a way, that a bodhisattva is not someone who puts aside their own enlightenment and to let other people it's not like a cue towards enlightenment. They're not putting aside their own progress to let others be enlightened, which is sometimes how it's glossed, but that it's this state of beauty and the state of helpfulness are all exactly the same thing, and at a very, very subtle level. So this talk is called The Greater Mandala, and I haven't exactly based it on this text, but I've sort of wanted to talk around what a mandala might be. So I haven't mentioned the word mandala. Mandalas were used in early Buddhism and other Indian traditions. They really came into their own in the Tantric tradition, but they're also used in the Mahayana. And I think it's this quality, one way of describing a mandala is take a prominent aspect of reality and surround it with beauty. And the Mahabodhi temple is shaped like a mandala. And a mandala integrates your whole life. It doesn't cut to the center and cut out different parts of your life. You take on all of your life and you orientate it to your highest ideals. Does that make sense? I hope I'm tying the different metaphors together. A mandala combines the rational, it's ordered, there's this harmonious beauty to it, and it's also got the richness, the colours, the wildness even of the unconscious mind. And you can see how, I'll wrap up now. Maybe a bodhisattva just spontaneous, as a sort of side effect of their activity, of their compassionate activity and their wisdom and their aesthetic appreciation, their ability to move with grace and lila through all of their activities, will actually spontaneously create a mandala around them in a certain kind of way. So, and you might do this. You might start practicing the Dharma, and you might start being like a little bit more helpful and a little bit more truthful, and then suddenly things around you start sort of becoming a bit more harmonious and a bit more beautiful. And then you might meet people who've been practicing for a long time. I don't know if you've met any really weighty practitioners, and it's sort of the atmosphere around them isn't the usual chaos or the usual unpredictability, maybe. They might be unpredictable, but it's almost like everything's there, everything's present. This harmony sort of exudes from them, and you start to behave sort of as part of that. Does that make sense? You sort of become part of their mandala, their influence or their positive influences, and this inference towards the centre, towards enlightenment. I hope I'm not talking riddles. In my mind, it's all tied up. These buildings, these magic, amazing buildings, and also the stories of the buildings in the Mahayana. Do I want to say this? It's a hard. Well, what can happen in some of the Mahayana stories is you might have a building, and then it suddenly becomes something else. It sort of starts opening up, and it's like if you think about buildings as constraints of the mind, or aspects of the mind, chambers of the mind. Do you ever have a dream where you find a secret room? The mind just starts opening up more and more. And a mandala is a little bit like that. In the Mahayana stories, it's like one of the stories there's a room and it's not big enough, and lots of people want to come in, and the practitioner Vimalakirti sort of magically sort of turns space and time inside out, so that huge envoys of cosmic bodhisattvas can suddenly fit in his humble 10-foot room. And that's what the practice is to not let the common sense, efficient versions of ourselves prevail all the time. You might need it in your work, you might need it to get by, but can you let the splendour of 1,000 bodhisattvas, or even one, or the twinkle of one eye, to sort of break down the walls of your mind in that way? Yes. Okay, so we're going to we'll end in just a few minutes. Let's chant the Manjushri mantra And we can just bring to mind these qualities, his beauty, the truth and beauty of this great, graceful Bodhisattva as we finish this series. So I'll just dim the lights, and Sthiramanas will start the Manjushri mantra. And we'll just do it for a while and then let it die away.
Arapachanadi, Om 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 Arapachanadi,
Okay, so that's the end of the evening. Actually, Dharma night, we'll just keep going over the Christmas holiday period. So we've got a 2-week series that Vandana Jyoti is doing on jewels in the darkness and light, which is very timely for this time of year. So that's on the 22nd and the 29th, I guess. That might be wrong. Anyway, the next 2 Mondays, Dharma night will be continuing. So if you're around, it'd be lovely to have you.
Thank you.